I'm going to be honest about what happened between me and my husband because I'm still grappling with how it all fell apart. My name is Elise, I'm 29, and 8 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. Now, I'm sitting in my quiet apartment in Portland, wondering if I'm about to lose everything, and somehow, I'm the one being cast as the villain. When I first got together with Noah, I felt like I'd won the lottery. He was completely devoted to me in a way that made my heart race. Every day, he'd tell me how stunning I was, how grateful he was to be with me, how he couldn't believe I chose him. His touch was electric, playful pats as I walked by, spontaneous hugs that made me feel safe, soft kisses on my forehead when I was cooking. Even the smallest gestures seemed to light him up, and I could tell he was genuinely affected by me. At first, I soaked it all in. My friends would tease me when I gushed about how Noah couldn't keep his hands off me, even after 4 years together. My friend Maya would say, "Wow, must be nice to have a guy who's still that into you." I'd smirk, feeling a little superior, knowing my husband was still smitten while hers barely noticed her over his laptop. But then life got heavy. My job at a marketing firm in downtown Portland started piling on pressure, new campaigns, tight deadlines, endless meetings. My dad's chronic illness flared up, and I was constantly drained, juggling hospital visits and work. Noah's constant affection, once so flattering, started to feel like a burden. Every hug seemed to escalate. Every kiss carried an undertone of desire. It was as if he couldn't touch me without it turning into something more. I noticed it constantly. We'd be curled up watching a movie, and within minutes, I could sense his excitement just from being close. A quick good morning kiss before I left for work would turn into him trying to linger, his energy shifting. It felt like my presence was a switch for him, and it started to make me uncomfortable. No one never forced anything. He'd adjust himself, move on, and never made his reactions my responsibility. But I began to feel like I couldn't just be close to him without it becoming a sexual thing. Couldn't he just hold me without his body reacting? My friends didn't help, always asking about my perfect husband with knowing grins, joking about how Noah must be desperate if I wasn't in the mood. They didn't get how exhausting it was to feel like every touch was charged. Looking back, I see I was starting to resent something that should have made me feel cherished. But at the time, with everything else weighing me down, it felt suffocating that I started pulling away, dodging his touches, creating distance. Noah didn't seem to pick up on my cues. He kept being his warm, affectionate self, oblivious to my growing frustration. I told myself he should sense my mood, should know when I needed comfort without the undertone of desire. But I never said it out loud. I just expected him to figure it out. When he didn't, my irritation grew, setting the stage for a disaster I didn't see coming. It all came to a head on a rainy Thursday night after a brutal day at work. Everything had gone wrong. A client presentation tanked, my boss was on my case, and I just wanted to collapse on our couch in our cozy Selwood apartment and zone out. Noah could tell I was stressed the moment I walked in. He's always been good at reading me, which I usually loved. He made tacos, let me vent without prying, and after dinner, joined me on the couch. He started rubbing my shoulders, his hands easing the tension in my muscles. For a moment, it was perfect. Then he leaned in, kissing my neck softly, his hands sliding down my arms. Within minutes, I could feel his body responding, pressed against me as he sat close. Something snapped. All my pent-up frustration boiled over, and I spun around, glaring. "Why do you always have to make it sexual? It's exhausting." My words were sharper than I intended, but I was done feeling like I couldn't relax without it turning into something more. Noah froze, his face going blank. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he said quietly, "I can't help that I'm attracted to you, Elise. I'm a guy in love with his wife. That's normal." But I was too angry to hear him. "Just stop," I snapped. "It's overwhelming. I can't even get a hug without you turning it into something else." Noah's expression shifted, hurt flickering in his eyes. "I don't make it about that," he said softly. "I can't control how my body reacts to you. I've never pressured you to do anything." He was right, he never had. But I was too wound up to admit it. Instead, I doubled down. "Well, control it," I said. It's too much, and I'm over it. Noah looked at me for a long moment, something heavy settling in his gaze. Okay, he said finally. I hear you. Then he went to bed without another word. I sat there, feeling both justified and uneasy. Deep down, I knew I'd been harsh. Noah had been showing me love the best way he knew how, and I'd called it exhausting. But I was too stubborn to apologize, and part of me felt relieved, thinking he'd finally give me space. I didn't realize I'd just ignited a spark that would burn our marriage to the ground. Noah wasn't one to argue. Instead, he took my words to heart in the most literal way. That night, he didn't reach for me in bed like he usually did. He stayed on his side, and when I woke up, he was already up, getting ready for his job at a local brewery. No morning kiss, no warm hug before he left, just a polite have a good day as he walked out. I told myself he was just processing, that it would pass. But that was the moment everything shifted. Noah went from being the most affectionate husband I knew to barely touching me. No more spontaneous hugs, no playful gestures in the kitchen, no pulling me close during movie nights. If I leaned in for a kiss, he'd give a quick peck and pull back, careful not to linger. At first, I was relieved. I could finally exist without every moment feeling charged. But within a week, something felt wrong. One evening, as I washed dishes, Noah passed by to grab a drink from the fridge. Normally, he'd have teased me or given me a quick squeeze. Instead, he just said, "Sorry, need to get by," like we were strangers sharing a kitchen. It felt so cold, so unlike us. When I asked why he'd stopped being affectionate, Noah's response was maddeningly calm. "You said my reactions were exhausting," he said. "I don't want to make you uncomfortable again." I argued that he was being ridiculous, that he could show affection without it always escalating. But Noah just shrugged. "It happens naturally when I'm close to you. If that bothers you, the only way to avoid it is to keep my distance." His logic was infuriating, but I couldn't argue with it. He was giving me exactly what I'd asked for, and it was starting to feel like punishment to be why the second week I was unsettled. I missed the way Noah used to look at me, like I was the only woman in the world. Now, his gaze was polite, detached, like he was looking at a friend, not his wife. I tried to spark something, wearing his favorite sweater, initiating hugs, but he'd respond just enough to be kind, then pull back before anything could escalate. It was like he'd put up a wall, and I hated it. 3 months in, I felt more alone than ever. Noah was still thoughtful, cooking dinner, asking about my day, but it was all surface level, like he was playing the role of a dutiful husband without the passion that used to fuel it. I tried everything to get a reaction. Cooking his favorite meals, suggesting hikes we used to love, wearing outfits I knew he liked. But Noah had mastered keeping his desire in check, and it was driving me crazy. How had the man who used to light up at the sight of me become so distant? The breaking point came when Noah went on a 5-day work trip to Seattle for a craft beer festival. Normally, we'd talk every night, flirting and counting down the days until he was back. This time, our calls were brief, polite, him asking about my day, me asking about his meetings, then a quick goodnight. No warmth, no "I miss you" when he returned. Something was different. He seemed calmer, more resolved, like he'd made a decision. I tried to greet him with the old enthusiasm, but his response was lukewarm, a polite hug that felt like it came from a stranger. That's when panic set in. I'd thought this was temporary, that Noah would get over his hurt, and things would go back to normal. But he was different now, like he'd already moved on emotionally. I started wondering if something had happened on his trip. Had he met someone? Was he happier without me? The thought of Noah finding someone who appreciated his affection made my stomach churn. But instead of apologizing, I got defensive, convinced he was overreacting, punishing me for one comment. Then, over dinner one night, Noah dropped a bombshell. "Elise," he said, setting down his fork, "I don't think we're compatible anymore. I think we should consider separating." I nearly choked on my wine.
What?
Where is this coming from? Noah paused, choosing his words. "Our connection has been fading since you said my attraction to you was exhausting. I thought about it a lot on my trip. This isn't working for either of us." I was floored. "I didn't mean for you to shut down completely. I said, my voice shaking. I just wanted you to ease up a bit. Noah shook his head. I can't control how I feel when I'm close to you. And I can't stay in a marriage where my wife finds my desire overwhelming. Then he told me about his trip. At a bar after a festival event, a woman in her mid-20s had flirted with him. Nothing happened, he stressed, but her attention made him realize how unappreciated he'd felt. She made me feel wanted in a way you haven't in months, he said quietly. I haven't been happy, Elise. I felt sick. So, you want to leave me for some random woman? No, Noah said firmly. I want to leave because I deserve to be with someone who values my affection, not someone who finds it exhausting. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't mean you were exhausting.
I was stressed.
You're blowing this out of proportion. But Noah wasn't swayed. You called my love exhausting. You made me feel like I was wrong for wanting you. I've spent years feeling lucky to be with you, and you made me feel like a burden. He was right, I had said those things. But I kept insisting I didn't mean it that way, even as I knew my excuses were weak. Noah pointed out that I never initiated affection, never made him feel desired, just accepted his attention until it inconvenienced me. When's the last time you told me I was attractive? He asked. When's the last time you showed me you wanted me? I couldn't answer. I'd taken his devotion for granted, and now I was paying the price. That night, Noah slept on the couch, and I realized I might actually lose him, not to another woman, but to my own inability to appreciate him. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Noah started looking at apartments, talking to a lawyer, all with a calm determination that terrified me. I tried everything, apologizing, crying, promising to change, but he seemed unreachable, like he'd already mourned our marriage. I became obsessed, checking his social media for signs of someone else. What I found was worse. Noah was thriving. He'd reconnected with old friends, started mountain biking again, and was even seeing a therapist. He was becoming a happier, more confident version of himself, and I barely recognized him. My friends started noticing his absence, and when I explained, they weren't as sympathetic as I'd hoped. You called his attraction exhausting? Maya said, incredulous. Elise, that's harsh. Even they thought I'd messed up. Then I heard through a mutual friend that Noah was dating a 27-year-old barista he'd met through his therapy group. I drove by their favorite coffee shop in St. John's and saw them together. Noah was laughing, his eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in months. When she touched his hand, he didn't pull away, he leaned into it, like he'd been craving that connection. It hit me then. I'd lost a man who loved me fiercely, who made me feel like the center of his world. Because I couldn't handle his affection when it didn't suit me, I tried one last time, showing up at his new apartment with a letter pouring out my regret. But Noah looked weary. Elise, I'm with someone who makes me feel good about wanting her, he said. Someone who doesn't make me feel ashamed for being attracted to her. I can't go back to that. I begged, insisting I could change, but he shook his head. You had months to see how much you were hurting me. You didn't. You just got mad when I stopped chasing you. 8 months later, I'm alone in my apartment, scrolling through Noah's girlfriend's Instagram. She posts pictures of them hiking, captioning them, "So lucky to have this incredible man." Noah looks radiant, confident, fulfilled, loved. And me? I'm left wondering how I destroyed the best thing I ever had because I was too selfish to appreciate it. Part of me still thinks Noah should have fought harder, that he gave up too easily. And that's probably why I'm here alone, still not fully grasping that love isn't something you can criticize and expect to keep. Some lessons, it seems, you only learn when it's too late.